down to just 2 players with a bomb down.
Falsia finding 3, 4. Will we see the ace from Falsia this round?
Welcome to Showstopper, BU Gaming's collegiate Valorant podcast. I'm your host, Gabriel Moncau. Today, joining me as he always does to my right is Mr. Phillip Tran, my trusty co-host, also the captain of the Valorant B team here at Boston University, as well as 2 very special guests. We have Falsia, the co-captain of the Valorant A team, as well as Dariy, the main Omen player for the Valorant B team. How you guys doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to have this finally go live. This has been in the works for a while, so I'm looking forward to this.
I'm very excited.
I mean, all of us have, for lack of a better term, lived and breathed Valorant for a while, so I'm glad that we can kind of start sharing this.
Very true.
Absolutely.
So there's so much that we can cover in this first episode, right? Just to give a bit of background, when we started planning this podcast, this was before the 1.11 patch notes, which I think have been pretty historic recently in Valorant at the very least. And so I think that's probably the best way for us to start. The 1.11 patch notes, they were quite a while ago now, so it may not be fresh in your mind. We can go ahead and look over those as we talk. These were the patch notes, actually, that nerfed Sentinels in Valorant, which up until this point were pretty much an integral part of every team. We had Killjoy and we had Cypher see massive changes to how they were played. Mainly the fact that Cypher's traps no longer stay active after he dies, and that there are ranged-based abilities to Killjoy and Cypher. I think that since then we've seen the game change quite a bit, and since that's the biggest change I think in a long time, we should start there. Do you want to just sort of talk us through what we were thinking when this dropped and what has happened since then, Phillip?
Yeah, sure. As a long-time Sentinel player, it seems like I've been playing nothing but Sentinels for a long time in this game. If I'm not picking up like Brim or something. But yeah, 111 had quite a big effect on how people are playing Sentinels. I think when it came to the Cypher nerf, I don't know. It's kind of contentious. I still play Cypher a lot because I still enjoy how you play Cypher. It's all about tricking your enemies, getting them to walk into your tripwires, which is a huge part of the game. And it wasn't really a big deal that those were revealed upon death, because for a good Cypher, you're going to mix up your traps anyways. But not having his stuff be activated when he dies, I think that's a lot different. It makes you almost have to play either more aggressively, just in case you need to really make a difference during the game, or to back off and play even more passively, which is very interesting. And I think when it comes to Killjoy, I'm not sure if it's quite a nerf. It's more like a side grade, almost like a shift in the paradigm of how you're supposed to play Killjoy. The first thing being that all her traps are now range based. You have to be between 40 meters, I believe, of her alarm bot and turret for it to be activated. Otherwise, they're just not going to be used. And you see an additional buff to being able to recall her turret and alarm bot, as well as a buff to the damage of the nanoswarm grenade, which I think made Killjoy more of an on-site defender rather than something where you just set traps in a random place and walk away from it. I think what Riot is trying to do with Killjoy especially is make Killjoys play with their gear more. Instead of making these things passive, it's more of an active management sort of thing, especially with the turrets and stuff, where you are allowed to recall them much more quickly.
I think recently I've been playing a lot more Killjoy, especially since I've been home for winter break. And one of the biggest things I noticed is that there is no set and forget meta for Killjoy anymore. I think that it's very valuable for you to be able to put down an alarm bot and just one of the nano swarms down, and then put your turret elsewhere, or when they take another site, to make sure you recall both your turret and your alarm bot, and then also throw the additional nade on the retake. Instead of just setting everything up, I think I'm specifically thinking of bind and setting up Killjoy on the B site. The regular turret that would typically go on the back box, and then the alarm bot underneath hookah, and for the alarm bots for long and underneath hookah, are usually pretty standard setups for Killjoy. But now you can use that extra utility to be able to rotate off and hold A with a turret, especially through heaven or maybe even around hookah.
I agree. I especially think that I mean, we were reaching a point before this patch in the game when Cypher was kind of a must pick, I feel like. A lot of teams were running Cypher, almost regardless of map, almost regardless of the rest of the party comp. And something crucially that isn't realized about this as well is we were also reaching a time when nobody was running Sage. Sage had sort of totally fallen off of the meta. So while this has definitely made Cypher less used, Killjoy more used, what do we feel like this has done to Sage? Because Sage is kind of the forgotten Sentinel now.
Yeah, you're right. And Sage has been super neglected. But I think now with patch 1.14, it might have made Sage just a little sweeter with the changes to her wall. You've been seeing Sage been nerfed patch after patch. When the game was first released, I mean, Sage was a must pick. Like, if you didn't have a Sage on your team, you threw the game, basically.
Essentially.
But now, like, after all these nerfs, it seems like having a Sage on the team isn't too much of a big deal anymore. But I think that kind of changed a little bit with 1.14, which the barrier doesn't like lose health over time anymore. It deteriorates a few seconds before it's supposed to expire, which I think made Sage a little better of a pick. It really rewards Sages who know how to use their wall, know how to use it effectively, and put it up at the right time. Which I really think is valuable. And you see a lot of Sages actually be picked in Icebox now because she can effectively hold off that tunnel area by just putting a vertical wall there. Super powerful.
I think Icebox is its own can of worms that we're definitely going to be getting into as well. But something we before we hop off of the two patches, so I just brought up the 1.14 patch notes as well. We have these Sage changes here that we can look at. Do you want to just sort of walk through everything that was changed in that update for us, Phillip, just so that we can get an idea? And this was, what, maybe like a month after the 1.11 patch notes?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not too good with dates, but yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So with 1.14, the changes you saw really had to do with Sage. Her barrier orb can't be cast during the buy phase. And as I mentioned, the barrier doesn't lose health over time. It just starts to deteriorate a few seconds before it expires. And they've also made a few changes to Icebox, kind of reducing the verticality of the map a little bit. You see that with the vertical area, I think it's called conveyor or something on A site, where the attackers will come from that higher grounds. They have also added a gate to that front site. And then after that, they've made a few changes near the on-site area to make things, I think, a little easier to attack, reducing some of that, a little bit of verticality as well as some blind spots. And then on B site, you see yellow, that big container, the double stack container is now much shorter. I think this allows for even more interesting gameplay actually on the B site, especially when it comes to that yellow container. I don't know what you guys think about it. Like, how have you guys played Icebox? And
I think we have to delve into Icebox.
Yeah, we have to talk about Icebox.
Like, we got
so, is it a ban or is it a pick for you guys? Like, what do you think about this? Like, is Icebox viable for comp? Is this a map you would want to play? A map you'd want to perfect? Are you gonna make it your own Vertigo?
Oh God, no. God, no.
Brian, would you love to play this as like Vertigo?
No, absolutely not. I absolutely despise Icebox. Icebox, in my opinion, is a very flawed map. There are many angles that you literally can't win if you walk into them. Many angles that, well, after the change, actually, after the 1.14 change, one of the boxes on A used to be the most OP op corner you've ever seen. You get on top of the gen, like as they walk into A main, you'll die. There's no chance in you winning that angle. But now the angle's gone, and only Jets can get there, so it's a bit better, I guess.
Or Omens, maybe.
Omens, yeah.
Or raises. Don't forget the raises.
That's true.
We don't talk about raises, all right? We don't talk about them.
Yeah, I would not want to play Icebox.
I think I love Icebox. But
no way. Here we go.
I think there's a lot of flaws to it. I think I love it only as an Omen player because holding B red around the yellow area, you can TP to like 4 different angles, and every time they push B, they have to check every like all 4 or 5 of the angles, and if they don't check one of them and you're in it, you cash in. It's at least a 1-for-1. Most of the times it's a 2-for-1, and then they either have to back off a B and retake through mid, or they just continue to rush and then your team just trades them out. It's clutch.
I didn't even need to introduce you as an Omen player. Like, it's so obvious. It's so clear.
All right. So with Icebox, I love holding B, like solo hold that B long area near yellow, just as a solo killjoy. It is so fun doing that. You set up your turret and alarm bot and 2 nades, and you can stall so many pushes with that. I mean, you're at least gonna get one person if you play it very smart, and then the rest of your team has time to rotate over if you know it's gonna be a hard push because you have those nades to cut down a quick push. Um, and I mean, I think the lower the ranks get, it's kind of like the more effective that
Yeah,
becomes.
essentially. Yeah.
It's just kind of like I don't know, taking down your local like YMCA like 8-year-old kids like little league team. It feels
Yeah.
kind of bad when you're at that rank because it's so effective. You're playing Killjoy there because people that rank don't know how to counter it. But I'm
Exactly.
excited. I'm still waiting to see how it's gonna pan out when we played in CSL. Like, is my solo hold on B near yellow actually gonna work? And when we go off into the playoffs and stuff and actually
Yep.
go against some like teams that have been practicing together for a long time,
Mhm.
are they gonna get wise to my ways? I don't
That's a
know.
good point.
How
It
about
doesn't
you,
help
Gabe?
that you just told them how you play on a podcast, but like it's okay.
That's true.
Okay, so if they do their due diligence and actually
Yep.
watch this episode, they deserve
Like props,
it.
they just deserve it. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna be playing Skye on that map, and I'm just gonna flash you around the corner until well, my entire
Yeah,
team
both
rotates.
of our teams are going to be running like full flash setups, right? Everyone on flashes.
Actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
live
we're actually
flashes.
waiting on the new
Yep.
agent.
3 sentinels and 2 smokes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be
Yeah.
kind of
totally.
busted.
But you know, I think Icebox is such an interesting conversation, and I think that I mean that was something going into Valorant. A lot of people were really hyped about maps in general, especially seeing like Volcano, one of the map makers from Counter Strike. He's was classically involved in like Cash, which is an iconic Counter Strike map. Worked with FM Pone and a lot of map core stuff. Seeing him be brought over onto the Valorant development team, a lot of people were really excited about maps, and I think that's one of the things that most people were disappointed by at the start of Valorant was that the maps weren't as strong as people expected, especially the people who came from CS. There's a lot more corners. There's a lot more weird angles. It just feels totally different than I think what people expected. So getting more maps in the queue, and as people get more accustomed to them, I think that we're going to see this entire perspective change. And I think it was about time that we got a new map kind of like Icebox. Like, it's been a while of people asking for change when it comes to maps. And I think that's something else as well to note is, this is especially true in CSL, but also in other leagues that I've watched, there has been kind of a clear permaban going up to this point. I'm pretty sure out of like the 6 matches we've played Split maybe once, and every other time it's been banned by whichever team could. Nobody likes Split. Nobody likes Split, and I'm interested in seeing how that changes with Icebox. I think my hot take is that I think people are more willing to play. I think they're more willing to play Icebox than Split. I really do.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Go ahead, Brian. Like, what do you think about that? Because I see Icebox being such a Q dodger every single time I Q.
Maybe.
It seems like, oh, I get Icebox.
I'm the one dodging. I don't know.
It's you the whole time, yeah. Like, I mean, it seems like almost every time I Q, it's like, well, I got Icebox. I'm gonna go grab some snacks and go to the bathroom because I know somebody's gonna dodge this one. Do you think that like that whole thing, like, do you think what you see in the lobbies actually translates to CSL? I think people tolerate Split, but they absolutely despise Icebox most of the time. And I don't really know. Like with Icebox, it's such a different map. There's a lot of verticality, so many angles to watch. It's a lot different than the other maps, I'd say. And your focus is on a lot of other things. I don't know. What do you think?
I think one of the things that really bothers me about Icebox is the little room off of attacker's spawn to the left where you can choose to push B. You can either go directly into that elbow area or the little side room that gives you essentially no advantage because you're peeking into the exact same angle, and unless you're playing somebody who has like a blast pack like Raze or your Omen and you could teleport or you could jet, you could dash, nobody else can play that angle because you're either going to get opt or you're going to get killed by utility. And I think that if they made that small room connect to a different part of B long, it could be a complete different game changer because then you could just actually take sight from 2 different angles and have to force 2 people to watch B site.
That's true. That's an interesting idea. I agree that room is totally useless. I think that's part of a bigger conversation, though, of like, I honestly don't know what Icebox is sided anymore. I think right at its launch, it was super defense sided because nobody knew the angles that existed, and people would just have like just pick agents that could jump or boost or dash or TP and just sit in the highest angles they could find and be like, haha, I'm shooting you from heaven. And it was stupid. I think that now we've seen somewhat of the opposite. I mean, many times that I've played Icebox, we've had some very successful A pushes somehow by just lobbing like a ton of utility up and then pushing like massively off the back of it. One guy flanks around mid or something and you're golden. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do we think Icebox is sort of leaning towards being sided right now?
It's a very interesting question because naturally I'm such a defensive sided player and I play Sentinels, so that makes it even worse. I feel like all the time I do way better on defense. But I don't know. There is something about Icebox pushes that just makes it different. And you kind of do have to play with your team more. I'm not really sure what to think, honestly.
Yeah.
I still think it's defense sided. I mean, I think all maps are defense sided at its core, just because of
That's
Sentinels
true.
in general. But like me as a duelist, as a jet, I don't know. A lot of times I just dash in, I just die. Like I don't even know where I'm getting shot from. They could be up in the sky, they could be right next to me. I don't know. Especially on Icebox. Other maps, I don't think I have more of a sense of where they could be. But Icebox, there's way too many angles for me to play or for me to check.
I think that comes from like everywhere you push has like 5 different angles of visibility from. Like for example, if you go underneath the bridge or underneath tunnel and mid as jet, like if you dash through, you can get killed from snow pile window, from top the second level of that metal box where you can plant the spike, from just like yellow from an opera, from somebody playing close. Like it's insane how like open the map is and how like you just have to have a sentinel watching something with utility to win it. And if you're attacking, unless you get like 2 or 3 picks, you could still lose the round. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think it makes using like a lot of smoke really necessary on Icebox just to cut off all those sight lines from defenders. That's when you're going to really have to rely on the rest of your team as a duelist to get those opening kills and actually push in, which is what I think Gabe is talking about. If you're playing with a team that is pushing effectively and using utility really effectively, cutting off those sight lines that are super plentiful in this map, you're going to be able to get control of the site much more easily than if you just try to go and dry.
I actually do want to make a note about that. I think something interesting. I mean, a lot of times it's hard to talk about Valorant and new Valorant updates without comparing it to the only game that it is comparable to, which is Counter-Strike, right? But I think that one thing that's really interesting is in CS, there's kind of this meta that's been around for forever, or at the very least since like the Astralis era of 2018, of you don't just use utility like when you see somebody or when you see somebody in a corner, you strategically clear out every angle that they could be in. And then that's when you push the site. I don't think that happens as much in Valorant. Maybe it's because not everybody has a Molotov or an HE grenade equivalent that can actually clear out an angle, and a lot of times it's more like smokes or movement abilities. But I think that at the very least, in the way that we've been playing, and the way that CSL has been playing out, and some of the games that I've been watching, it's been a lot more about smoke up and then push off the back of it with flashes. We haven't seen this sort of systematic clearing of with like Molotovs or drones or something like that can actually clear these angles. I think that's going to be crucial on Icebox. I think because I agree with what you're saying, right now smoke pushes are working pretty well, Phillip. But I'm thinking A site, for example, on Icebox, right? If you smoke off like that mid-site area, they can still hide behind that site. And now they have close range angles that they can play with. They can sit in the smokes. They can molly through the smokes. They can do a ton of stuff to shoot through them. It's almost impossible, I feel like, to get accurate, like good enough smokes that they can't abuse in some way. So I feel like we're going to see way more of like a Molotov or like damaging utility meta on Icebox, where we're going to be clearing those top angles with like Killjoy lineups, where we're going to be lobbing those nades across the site, and we're going to have like Phoenixes throwing mollies, and a Brimstone might come back into play, because I don't know that smokes are good enough to take a site.
I think that's a really interesting way to play the game, pushing your enemies out of those angles that they might be in just to clear the site. Make sure they're not there and push them into places where you know they certainly have to be. Maybe people are going to start playing it like that. Maybe it's just something that the Valorant player base has to get used to now. Finding these new, little more innovative and different ways to think about the game to get the upper hand.
I think
you guys think that do you think that as a counteract to that, people are going to start to play? Well, this is what I'm expecting to see from CSL is just, especially on A site, playing just for the retake, absolutely giving them the site, because all the corners are so narrow that it's essentially a 1-for-1 trade every single corner on A site. So you just play outside of doorway, outside of main. You wait for that mid flank to push. You trade that fast, and then you try to retake with 5v4 on site. And I feel like that's the best way to tackle, because typically people are going to plant default in that little area next to the box and back out to either nest or just all the way back and loop around to get on the platform to watch the spike. And that gives you like a crazy opportunity to retake maybe 5v2, 5v3. And that's just an easy trade retake. And I'm hoping that's how CSL plays the
I don't
A-hole.
know. Maybe we should try that in one of our games. Let's actually just pick Icebox and go for it.
I feel like that's risky for the same reasons that I just gave, though. Like, I agree that that's how I think it will play out. I think that's probably the smartest way. But where my mind goes, and maybe I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate here, is if you do that, then there's no incentive for them to use their utility early to start clearing the site. So they can save all that utility for post-plant. That's kind of worrying, because Icebox is open enough of a map that you can definitely like lob some cross map nades and like onto the bomb. I mean, I've seen like Viper lineups and stuff already. So I almost feel like what we're gonna see is sort of like a hybrid of what you described, where maybe you keep like an Omen, for example, around, and his only job is just to smoke that entrance just like forever. Like, all he does is just smoke that entrance forever, because as long as that is smoked, they can't push without full utility, because it's so hard to clear that, unless you're gonna, like, I don't know, jet dash through it with a flash and get really lucky. I think that's really risky. So I think we're gonna see like some sort of controlling utility there, but very little manpower presence. I agree with you.
I agree. That's a good point.
And I think B-side plays totally differently.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
completely different game.
B-side's
B-side is just
I'm an A
whack.
player, so I would love to hear like, especially,
Hi,
I mean, you've
B-side player
mentioned
here.
you've mentioned your Killjoy setups, but like, I always have a terrible time taking B on attack. I don't know. I have a terrible time taking everything. It's Icebox.
I mean,
but
yeah,
like,
taking B on attack is very interesting, especially that super long like choke point there where I usually play as a Killjoy. It really depends, I guess, on the other team and what they have, but some teams are very effectively just able to shut down that area, and there's not a lot you can do about it, simply because they're using their utility correctly. So if you can't take B there, where are you going to take B? Maybe through mid. I've seen a lot of plays just go off of mid control and have been relatively successful. Because when you open up mid, I think this is the same thing with like Haven or something. Mid control is really everything for some of these maps. You take mid, and now your options are really open. If you can take A for more of that like CT spawn area. You can even take B through that under that tunnel area, provided you have the right utility.
I love how we haven't
when
even
entering.
mentioned tube, because unless you buy an Odin, you're not getting through that sage wall ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's
so
just there
actually-
forever.
Yeah. The only way you can deal with that tube is if the other team isn't playing with the sage, or you know that they're not like doing anything with that tube. You can go right up tube. I mean, that's a play that I really like to do. Take mid control and have people go up tube and wrap around to B. You don't even have to contend with that B long area sometimes. But it really depends on how the enemy plays. I'm thinking Icebox is going to be shaping out as more of a dynamic map as time goes on, and people know how to play it, and they stop Q dodging it.
Yeah, exactly.
What I've seen is
mean,
some really, like, from the attacking side, what I've seen at least to be really effective attacking sides is definitely mid control. I've seen sides that just like instantly like Omen 2 smokes, top mid, like front top mid and right side of mid, and just like somebody dashes up onto the tube above, peeks above the smokes, and we have somebody running down the tube. I feel like that's the best way to get map control, because where else are you going to get it? Like, if there's an opper holding B long, unless you use like a ton of utility to push him off, and even then you're nowhere near the site. Like what are you going to do? And like A site, we've just said, like, you can't do it unless they're playing like retake or use a ton of utility as well. So I feel like mid control is the only way to like push up on an Icebox.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Mid control and Icebox is everything. If you've exhausted all your options with your team, try calling them up mid, get some of that control, push the person off a snow pile first. That's probably one of the spots that you're gonna. Or is it called snow pile or is it called boiler? I believe it's called boiler.
I'm not sure
yeah.
entirely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called boiler. It means that opping position that you can watch right into the attacking spawn, basically. If you can smoke that off or flash it off and get the pick, your options are pretty much open there. And that's one of my favorite ways to take A, honestly. Just up through mid, take the back entrance. You got the site. You just play off the defenders rotating off of, I don't know, Kitchen and B.
That's true.
I think one sneaky pro Omen tip, and I get excited.
This is
I
a
get
gem.
excited when they pick Sage on defense on Icebox, because as Omen, you can't fully block the tunnel with Sage wall.
No way. Is he going to TP past
So,
it?
You can TP past it, and they're usually watching like into mid, or like they're already rotated watching B site. So you can just get a free pick, You can use it for mind games. You can wait for the water break and then push when it's down. You could TP through it early. You could smoke off kitchen, TP through. You could smoke off kitchen, fake TP, push underneath. There's a lot of different plays.
That's so toxic.
Yeah.
That's so toxic.
Tube is such an interesting thing. Like, Tube is such an interesting place. I think it could honestly be even more interesting to play.
Mhm.
But the way that some people play Tube is it's pretty interesting. I didn't even know you could TP pass it as Omen.
Mhm.
Now that's pretty cool. Yeah. And
I
didn't
imagine
know
if
that
people-
was Sage will
I imagine if people actually start doing that though, like Sage will angle her wall,
angle
Yeah,
the wall.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
like surely.
Mhm.
But
I'm
yeah,
sure.
and
I
it's a
don't know.
matter of time.
Okay. Huge question. What is your dream like 5-agent pick for Icebox?
Oh, here we
Who
go.
do you want on your team?
Oh, it's a hard one.
Like, I'm thinking, like, for myself, I'm definitely Killjoy. Just because I think she's so effective at locking down that B long area and even helping out at A if needed. Just being able to play around those two main entrances on A site, like the left and the right side. You can use an alarm bot and nade just to kind of slow down a push there if you know that they're going to come up, and hopefully the rest of your team can rotate off and onto A site. Yeah, again, Behold is pretty much immaculate. And then I don't know, Sage. I guess so. I mean, holding Tube is great. I think her ult is the best in the game, provided that you have good teammates.
Mhm.
Seeing as you can just revive a whole nother player. Yeah. The rest though, I'm not sure. Omen, I think, is almost a must pick on any team, just because of how versatile Omen is. I mean, he's
Mhm.
got the smokes, he's got the flashes, he's got a great ult. So I just picked 3, right?
I think you
Not
have
really
to go for the Sova. The Sova is
Sova
pretty
is so good.
powerful.
Sova's really good, I think, for information, especially because
Mhm.
it's such an open map. She get arrows like crazy.
Mhm.
And then the last one, I don't know, get a duelist.
Yeah,
Jet.
Reyna
I'm gonna go with
something.
Jet here. Reyna.
Oh, Jet.
I like Jet because of the movement potential there.
Mhm.
I didn't pick a flash character, did I? Yeesh. I guess we don't need flashes, I guess.
No flashes.
Maybe
ready?
hop out, get rid of that Sage and put in a flash character like Breach, honestly.
Phillip, you're thinking too small brain here. I'm about to enlighten you. You ready?
This man's gonna say 5
Let's hear it.
duelists.
Nah. You got your Omen and you've got your Sova, all right? Those are a given. So you've got 3 slots to work with. Sage, just control that mid all day long. Control that too. Viper. And use Viper to throw walls
Viper.
across B and cut off the entirety of the site. And then you execute
That's
from
true.
long.
That is strong.
And I think Breach.
Breach is
And then you
good.
just like keep flashing over and over. You just win. It's just done.
Mhm.
That's very interesting. No duelists in any of our lineups, really. I mean,
Unfortunately, I
have-
think Icebox is so
half-heartedly put-
complicated. It's so hard to
Yeah.
play.
I kind of half-heartedly put in Jet as a duelist, but I'm not actually sure. You know, we should talk about Viper more though. So Dariy, what do you think?
I think Viper. I've been watching a lot of montages on YouTube of Viper's post-plant setups. It's the most awful thing to play against,
Yeah,
and it's so toxic. No
I've
pun
been playing
intended.
it. It's so fun.
It's literally your team just yells at you if you're in a 1v1 situation because she has like 5 different lineups from different holds and they're way off site. You have to go rotate to her, try to kill her while she's setting up, and then rotate back to defuse. And 90% of the time, you don't have enough time to do it. But I think because it's impossible to practice her in the training range, not in the training range, in custom maps because her abilities don't reset. Like the smoke, I believe, doesn't reset. You have to pick it up. I saw
I
a few
think
Reddit
so.
threads, yeah, complaining about that. I think that's what's preventing more of that in my games, and I'm thankful for it. And when they patch that, it's gonna be over for me because I'm gonna be losing every post plant.
Viper must pick. So Dariy, what's your like dream comp for Icebox?
I think my dream comp for Icebox would definitely have to be anything but Cypher. I think Cypher is awful on Icebox. I think
I
the
have to
angles for Cypher are just bad. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's too open of a map, and I think there's way too many possibilities. That his trips are kind of not as effective as Killjoy's more like area-based abilities.
Mhm.
At least with
you can just
Ben,
dodge
know-
the stuff.
Yeah, and everything is boxy in Icebox.
Yeah.
You can tell from the name, but like everything will just be completely horizontal, trips everywhere, and you just.
Yeah.
But I will say, Raze, I think is very powerful on Icebox since the changes. I think the
that's
yellow
true.
change made her insanely good at getting up to the second tier B hold box,
Right. Mhm.
where she could just see down. Haven't seen any flights montage clips from that, but I feel like they're coming soon.
Just get a rain death from up there, you know.
Exactly.
That's
What are you,
so
Brian?
cool.
What are you thinking? Leaked A Team
Me?
strats. Here we go.
For me, I'd
Don't
pick all
play
the
Icebox.
characters that have. I pick any character that can get up, like any verticality on them, like Jet, Raze, and Omen. Those would be my top 3 for now. Then the other 2 would just be Sage and a Sentinel. All right. I don't care if we win the game or not. I'd much rather make the game so bad for them who we're playing against. Like they're playing attack, we're playing defense. I'd much rather all 5 of us be like up somewhere in heaven. I don't know.
They just
They can't
Breach,
even look at us.
Breach, Sage, Viper, Killjoy, Omen. Just it's done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate that
Yeah.
map. Or if I'm playing it, I'd much rather make the experience worse for the other team.
That's so toxic.
That's pretty
All right,
hilarious.
CSL, you heard it here first. We're just here to be annoying.
Yeah. You guys want to talk about Viper a little more? Because I think
we
it's a
have
very
to.
interesting topic.
Mhm.
Like Viper. What, 2% utilization? I don't know. Very low utilization,
Mhm.
honestly. And before these patches and you know, like just in the past, like a few months ago, it's like somebody picks Viper, that's like a joke pick. Like, why are you
Mhm.
playing Viper, right? Like,
Yeah.
or they're silver, so it doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But it's like now I say that and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm gold 2. So I should stop talking
Yikes.
trash before I go to iron.
Mhm.
Anyways, with the Viper, I think Viper's getting more and more interesting. The more that I see people use Viper, you know, using those walls to cut off stuff, like on Bind or whatever, any map really, using her ults effectively to like really cut off sight lines.
Dude, have you guys seen
And
that
then
one
just
way
those
on
smokes
Split
and stuff.
that she does at like
There's-
B Heaven?
That cuts off like
There's a
ramp,
lot of nice
heaven,
ults,
Yeah.
everything except
Yes,
for
That's
screen.
so
that split
dumb.
One way.
Yeah, it is insane.
That split one way is really nice
Yeah.
if you're an attacker.
Dude, I just want to play
There's-
Viper now.
There's a lot of nice Viper one ways, and I think some teams in CSL are going to consider using Viper, not as a joke pick, but because in very specific cases, if the rest of the team is playing off of that Viper,
Yeah.
you're going to see.
I think
some
we've
amazing
had. I think the one map we lost on Bind was because the enemy team had a Viper that would just split the opposite
plays. Oh,
side.
yeah, you're right.
That's
yeah.
so mean.
Let me search it up. I think it was Stockton University.
Mhm.
This is the B team. Yeah, we actually threw our first round kind of bad because
Yeah.
dang, it was so weird playing against a Viper that entire game.
It's because you
Uh,
don't have a lot of practice against Vipers in comp that you're like
Yeah.
not used to playing them at all in any other
Yeah.
matchups.
Yeah,
I don't think
was
we've really
actually
played any,
so
right, Brian?
weird.
Like A Team, we
I-
haven't really played any Vipers.
I've considered playing her the one time on
I know.
Split,
I remember
but-
you were like, "Let's let it go
Yeah.
to Split. Let it go to
Well,
Split. I want to play
yeah,
Viper."
Yeah. Like yo, if they choose split map 2, yo, give me Viper. If we
Give
lose
me
a game,
Viper.
you can blame it on me. But like,
That's so
I swear to
bad.
God, I'll carry this map. But
Yeah.
like, no, they didn't choose it.
I gotta tell you though, that Stockton U game, that first game made me very nervous. We
Yeah.
went 13 and 10. We just could. I think our first map was Bind. We
Yeah.
we could not make, and that was a map we picked. I think
Yeah.
we just couldn't get past like just that initial wow factor. But we eventually got it back in the other games.
Yeah. I
And
think
we
we
did very well on Haven, I
destroyed
think.
them in the other 2 games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we destroyed them 13-4 in Haven. I think honestly because Haven is one of our best maps.
Mhm.
And then what was the other one we went to? Ascent maybe? I don't really remember.
I think
definitely
it was
wasn't Split.
Ascent.
Definitely wasn't Split. I
Not
think,
Split.
Yeah.
I think while we're at this, we've been talking about Viper becoming a more reasonable agent and more used. I think there's another agent that we have to talk about. Do you guys hear that? Is that a bird in the distance? Guys, Skye is such a meme. I remember when Skye first dropped. What was that 1.11 patch that she like became a thing?
Yeah.
She like, dude, people hated her. People were like, this thing needs to be nerfed immediately. Like the speed at which her bird goes and like the fact that people are using it just to find out people are there because she has like a voice cue when she blinds somebody. It's kind of, it was pretty absurd. I don't know if people have kind of gotten used to it yet. What is your guys' sort of take on that? Like, do we think it's good? Do we think it's bad? Do we think it's OP? Do we think it's not good enough?
That's very interesting because I haven't seen Skye used yet in CSL, so I can't make too big of a judgment there yet. But I have seen Skye being used a little more in just regular pug matches. And I noticed some things about Skye actually. When you throw her bird, if when you guide it like manually, it's a really slow turn. But if you throw it at a wall, it just kind of ricochets off the wall. Like it just like slides off really quickly. It's an excellent pop flash. That's going to be very interesting. I think some teams on CSL are actually going to be using Skye if Sova isn't particularly strong on a map as a kind of faux Sova, which with a little more like initiation potential.
I think Ascent is a great example.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be a must pick, but it might be an option for some teams who just don't see too much use for Sova because of the way they play. I don't know what any. Oh, and also the healing for allies.
That's true too. The healing is really good.
That's nice, especially if you're not playing with the Sage. Like you'd rather have somebody else on your team. I think Skye is like a weird blend of initiator / information haver dealer / like healer. That is very interesting. But I think her ult is kind of underwhelming. I don't know. I guess it's kind of what reins it in. I mean, it reveals the position of 3 enemies, which is all right. But
I think a lot of people use it as a triple boom bot and just peek with it, and then while it takes the damage, they trade.
Yeah, I think people have been using it more that way instead of actually just revealing where enemies are, because there's certainly better ults for that.
I will say, especially in CSL, like the level that we play at, you're going up against those full Radiant teams, they don't count. But in the level that we play at, like her Wolf is underrated, I think. Like you can clear so much with that before people like actually stop to shoot it. And even if they do, at least you got one person's position. If you have somebody playing off the back of that can capitalize when they start shooting at it, or molly somebody off of an angle or boombot it or something, I think it's really powerful. Like we just mentioned all of her abilities and made like reasonable arguments as to why they're all really good. So why aren't we seeing more of her? Like why aren't people using her? Is she just not better than the others, even though she's good? Like she doesn't replace Breach for me. Breach is still definitely better.
I don't think Skye is like a drop-in replacement for anybody simply because she's kind of a blend of everyone. Yeah. Like she's part Sova with the information from the bird, part Breach. I don't know, part Sage, almost part Cypher with her ult, kind of. Not really, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's more of a if you don't specifically need what makes each of those agents strong, but you still want some versatility. I
think Skye becomes 100% pick rate once they reduce healing on Phoenix, Molly, and Reyna Q.
Yes.
And after that, Skye is the best champion in the game, easily.
I think you might be right. I think you might be right. Like
don't
I think
give him too many ideas.
I think for a while we went off of like the healing meta when Sage kind of died. I think we're gonna go back towards it.
Yeah.
I mean, healing was so big back when Sage was OP and it was a must pick. Those days, maybe they'll come back with Skye and I'll have to play Skye.
What do you think, Brian? Do you think we'll see it return?
I don't like playing Skye. I mean, I don't like Skye in general, to be honest. I feel like her abilities are really good, but like one of the main flaws I see with her is she can't heal herself. Like, especially in a 1v1, you have a full heal. Like, you know,
I think that makes her squishy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you have to play passive Skye. You can't play Skye like you play Phoenix. Like you just can't.
Yeah. And then it kind of puts her in a weird middle area. Like she can initiate fights, but does she want to take them herself? Probably not. Probably wants to play behind someone. So honestly, maybe Riot is making Skye more of a support character in this sense. She has some aggressive abilities, but that's not the way you want to use Skye all the time, right? Since she can't heal herself, you're going to want to be playing off with another teammate. And this kind of brings up another question. Riot has also talked about like a few, we'll circle back to this, but I just wanted to bring it up. They're talking about putting a set of changes to some controllers as well as initiators and duelists in episode 2, which is going to launch next year, like right next year, which is going to be very interesting to see. And what they're saying is they're going to be giving initiators and controllers some more team focused power. Maybe this game is going to be really shaping out to be like you have to play with your team or else you're kind of toast.
Guys, you're not supposed to kill with abilities, guys. Please stop it.
You're not,
guys, stop killing with abilities.
Stop killing with abilities. Raise exists.
Yeah.
It's like,
Those guys, we didn't mean for you to nade them. We just put it there. Don't use it.
Don't use it.
Remember
very
the
interesting.
2 nades.
Oh, we don't. We try to forget that era. We try to forget
2 nades. There were 2 nades once.
In beta.
2 nades?
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Wow, I
Oh.
can't believe they did
Dude, she
that.
was so funny. Like people just
Yeah,
had
it was
compilations
insane.
of like they would show at the start like just the thing from Riot, like you're not supposed to kill with abilities, and then it's just a full on race compilation for the.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny.
It's
That's pretty
busted.
hilarious. So
Yeah.
Skye, I don't know. I
I
don't
think
see
if
Skye as a
they
replacement.
change them, I think if they change initiators, I think Reyna's the first to go. I think Reyna's too strong.
I
think
agree.
people are letting
So
Reyna skate by and no one's saying anything about it, but she can heal all of her health and armor back, and it's not capped at like 125 or anything. I feel like
Yeah.
it should, like the rational nerf on Reyna is capping it at 125 and making sure that
Yeah.
you know she heals back some armor, but she's not able to just kill one full health, kill one full health, and it's impossible
Yeah.
to take her down.
It's kind of a rolling snowball situation.
Mhm.
And when you're going up against Arena, you almost, if they're good, you're almost certainly going in with that fight with a disadvantage
Mhm.
in some way. That's very interesting to see because Reyna has been built up as this like rolling snowball kind of agent where you need to be good at the game and get those kills. But is Reyna too good, perhaps?
I think the problem is more of like the mentality that we're setting for the game by having people like Reyna be so widespread. It's and again I'm gonna have to reference CS. That's where I come from before this. CS like it's been the same game for like 15 years. The weapons don't change. The meta changes, but that's because people find new innovative ways of playing it. The maps don't change. The weapons don't change. Nothing really changes. And yet things like the way that the game is played does change, even though no content gets changed. That, I think, has led to a level of depth that we are far from in Valorant. So I wanted to give that disclaimer first. It's just the game is a lot newer. But the way that you play CS is not just this, like, get 3 people on these characters that are, like, self-sustaining, killing machines, and then have, like, maybe one other person that can, like, help them that is, like, a support player, and you just sort of, like, run in and snowball everything. I feel like that is so viable in Valorant, and I would even go further and say it's almost like the way that people are playing it right now. You have like your Reyna main, who's like the best player in the server. You have like a Breach that can like use his ult to just like single-handedly win like 3 rounds and a half or whatever. And he just like flashes them in. And then you have like a Phoenix or a Jet probably to like break any traps and just get past mollies. And then you just have those like, you have like maybe one Sentinel who's probably like your worst player on the team, probably me. And they're just like healing or whatever. And they're just
What's
like,
up?
that's what you do. That's what you do. You just sit at the back and you just heal. And everybody else just like runs up and kills everyone. And it's like whoever's duelists basically kill the other people first just wins.
I mean, it kind of is that way in CSL, right? It's like kill the carry. Who's carrying
Yeah.
hardest? Like who's at the top of the leaderboard? Yeah, we need to
a weird
eliminate
way to
that
spell
person.
DNL.
DNL, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, DNL is cracked on your team. He's definitely getting the kills. And
It's just-
I mean,
yeah.
Brian also kind of cracked. I mean, a lot of your team is pretty good, honestly.
Like I'm gonna
But
be
you're
honest, if
also-
ops didn't exist, I almost feel like there would be no reason to play smokes. Like there'd just be no reason to use smokes in this
hilarious.
game. You would just flash and just run in and shoot everybody. Like
That's
the
true.
only reason, like I feel like long range angles are almost the only reason to use smokes, because if you really want to and you have the good enough players to, you can just like run in
Flash and run.
shoot things. Yeah,
That's true.
and I don't like that mentality for the game. So I would support a bit of a Reyna nerf or something. And I say that as Reyna is the carry for my team, but still.
That's hilarious. Luckily, we don't play with Arena. We play with the Jet as our top frag. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Brian takes
Punches up.
turns. Brian takes turns.
Brian-
going over DNL.
Some games, I don't know.
So yeah, it's a flip flop.
Sometimes
kind of
I go
thing.
like 0-20, dashing and dying. Sounds like it's like Brian
The life of a
Classic.
Jet.
If you're not dying, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
The most deaths in the service is the most successful player in the game. You
That's
just got to
funny.
get the rest of your team to capitalize off of that.
Exactly.
So I think at this point we've kind of talked about like where
Let's
we've come
talk about
since the
Breach,
patches. Oh, okay. We have to. You're right. We do have to
forgot
mention.
talk
Breach.
about the entire Flash meta.
Okay, so but the thing is, like, okay,
How did
I
you
feel
skip
like
that?
that's kind of. I feel like it's been a problem for a while, but I also think that it isn't that much more of a problem now than it was before. It's just that people used the patch notes as a reason to justify complaining about it. So for people that don't know, basically in the 1.11 patch notes that we mentioned earlier, I think it was 1.11. Was it 1.14?
111.
111?
That was
Um,
Skye
Yeah,
added
111. 111 Skye was added, which
Yeah.
kind of changed everything.
Not
The
only
Breach
was Skye added, but we also had the breach flashes extend their duration. Which I think between those two, everybody was like, I don't want to be just white-faced all the time. It's just my screen is white constantly. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like this has been a problem for a long time. I feel like back when I started playing this game in beta, I think up to this point still, I think the flashes in this game are broken. I've played like hundreds of hours of this game at this point. Still can't dodge the flashes, to be honest. Maybe I'm just terrible at the game. Maybe it's just me, but I think flashes are too powerful.
Honestly, maybe I share the same sentiment. It's either because I'm really bad at the game and I can't dodge a flash. I mean, I can do it in CS, so I know
Just
I can
not
do
here.
it there at
Yeah.
least. I can do it in CS, but when it comes to Valorant, any flash just catches me off guard for some reason. And with the breach wow, I can't speak. With the breach buff. Ooh, slow down
there
there.
you go.
Yeah.
The 3
Um,
flashes.
it's kind of made things a little harder as a defender, holding on the site. But I love it when you were using it on attack, though. I gotta say, when we have somebody from the B team using breach to initiate on the site, it's the best feeling ever when the entire team on that site is completely blind. I don't know. It's fun to play with, but not particularly fun to play against. And it's made breach more of a staple on some teams, I'd say. It's kind of a lock-in for B team, honestly. I know you guys don't play with the breach.
We'd like to, though.
But
Or I'd
yeah,
like to at least, but we just don't really have like the space for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, even as all these things change, all these patches have been added, how has your lineup actually changed, Gabe? Like, compared to the B team, I feel like our lineup has changed relatively little.
Ours hasn't
honestly.
changed at all, I don't think, really. I mean, the changes were due to adding players, not due to like it was due to play style changes, not due to like game changes. And I would
Gotcha.
still say that, in my opinion, Breach is one of, if not the strongest character in the game. Just as like a single guy that doesn't need anybody else. Like,
Yeah,
because like some characters are
great
really
ults.
powerful when used with other things, and they can really help the team and like as a team effort and whatnot. I think Breach just as a standalone character, just what he can do, is kind of absurd.
It's amazing, yeah.
So
Like clearing corners, that's one.
The
3
ult is
flashes, the great ult. What's his other ability? The
Fall line?
what was that?
yeah, like the clearing of
Was it
like
fall line?
Yeah.
The
Thought about
clearing, like
explosion.
yeah, like that's all good individually. Like if you have those abilities as an individual player, you're gonna wreck some face. And when you use those in conjunction with the push with your team, it's even better. And those are the kind of characters I really like having on the team, like or the agents like I like having on the team. Somebody who is like self-sufficient, supporting, like can get things done on their own, but when combined with the rest of the backbone of the team, really get stuff done.
I think Valorant has to be played that way right now. Like Counter-Strike doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You can have like 2 people out of the 5 that are like self-sustaining like machines, and they just open space for the rest of the team, and then you can like full execute. I think Valorant has to be played that way right now. You have to have everybody be self-sufficient, otherwise it's a gap. Like it's just there's a problem.
Yeah, I think it comes really with just the change being between those games being the agent selection, the different sets of abilities. Sometimes you have to rely on some of those abilities to, work with certain situations. And honestly, it also changes the way you play. Like the way you play as a Counter-Strike player doesn't matter if you have a different skin on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you're better, obviously.
Clearly,
Yeah.
skins
Skins
do
wins.
equal skills. Everyone knows that, but
Especially in Valorant. I don't know.
especially in Valorant.
Yes.
Vandal.
If you have the
Dude, that Prime Vandal?
Prime Vandal shoots shooter. All right, I swear to God, it shoots shooter.
Let me tell you, in Riot games, there is definitely an accuracy multiplier.
Oh, for sure.
it comes
There's
to
no way
Vandal.
there isn't.
Shoot
Yeah.
straighter.
You
Hello?
shoot better. You're
Hello.
Is this gonna
Wow.
focus? Hello?
Gabe is not focusing
Whoa,
right now.
I'm in
Oh,
another
there you go, there you go.
dimension, guys. It's fine.
Anyways, the Prime Vandal, almost certainly there is something about that gun that makes you better. It's not empirical at all.
I
but
think now that
there
we've
is certainly
mentioned
something about
skins, just before we wrap up, I think we should also cover like, there were some other minor things that aren't game changing at all that happened since then. So we had like the seasonal event on a much lighter note, less like Brainiac note. I thought the seasonal event was fun. I thought that was cute. I really like that they do that in Valorant. It was something that I've missed in a lot of other FPS games. Is more like lighthearted game modes like that.
Dude, you speaking
so I
about
had fun.
lighthearted game modes,
Fun
we gotta
games.
talk about TF2, like the Halloween updates are always smacking.
No,
But
I meant
honestly,
esports, not TF2.
Oh. I mean, TF2 is an esport on the scale of the smallest amount possible,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I love watching comp TF2. Unfortunately, it's not that big. Anyways,
Yeah, there
didn't
was
play
that.
this. I didn't
There were
play
the
the
other skins,
Snowball
too.
thing. I'm sorry.
Snowball was fun, but it had a secret skill-based matchmaking thing going on.
Did it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it
That's
did. It
very
did.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So like I was getting counter strafe like one tapped by the snowball.
Cursed.
Oh wow,
Cursed.
we're leading shots and everything in a primarily hit scan game. This is impossibly good.
Guys, he's spin botting in the Snowball game. What am I supposed to do? Like,
Exactly.
that's funny.
It's also I mean, I've watched some videos of it, you know, because I gotta learn up on it because I'm hosting a podcast and stuff. But
Mhm.
it looks fun. I mean,
It is
reusing
fun.
Brim's Molly as the snowball launcher is pretty
Yeah.
cool, and those like extra goodies you pick up when you kill enemies.
The power-ups are busted.
Those
The ice
power-ups.
skating
Yeah.
one.
Skates,
Yeah,
bro.
they're
your-
absolutely
your
absurd.
Jordans. Oh my.
I mean,
They're
yeah,
so
it is a
absurd.
casual game mode, so those sorts of things, like just snowballing off all your kills, must feel so good.
Mhm.
Literally
I-
snowballing off
Literally.
your kills.
Literally, yeah. I do wish there were more like fun game modes sort of permanently in the game. And that's not necessarily that one because that one's seasonal, but it's like if you're not playing comp, what are you gonna play Spike Rush? Like we don't talk about Spike Rush. Spike Rush is there, but we don't talk about it. Did you guys actually
Spike
like
Rush.
Spike Rush? I have played it a lot, mostly for Battle Pass XP. But I don't. I still don't really like it. Like it's okay. I've gotten kind of used to it, but
Yeah, I don't know. Spike Rush is something I play when I'm waiting for somebody else to queue, and I just don't want to sit there and do nothing.
yeah,
I at least
Spike
get a
Rush is
little
just
bit of
a-
XP from.
Mission simulator,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's okay. I don't play for the enjoyment. Does that make sense? I played for the XP and like just so that I have something to do when I'm waiting for someone to queue.
Mhm.
The
And I
only
really
real
don't wanna
reasons
do
to play Valorant.
Yeah, and I don't want to do my CS homework, so it's like Spike Rush, the range, and
Mm,
homework.
range.
mm.
The range.
It is better than homework, which is a pretty big accolade we can give it.
Yeah.
There's that.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Deathmatch.
We don't talk about death.
Deathmatch is goated.
Dude, I hate
easily the
deathmatch.
best.
I
easily
hate
the best
Oh,
match.
bro.
I despise deathmatch.
Okay.
I get more tilted in deathmatch than I do in.
Yeah, me too, me too, me too.
my.
It is insane how tilted you can get in DM.
Dude,
It's good
so
warm-up.
unreal. It's pretty
Yeah,
good warm up.
It is good warm up. I
Yeah.
really like going to DM just to get some bops on people that move realistically instead of some static bots.
I wish there were
Yeah.
retakes like there are in CS, which
Oh,
I know
dude,
wouldn't work as well in this
nice.
game because like there's abilities based stuff. But like spawn everybody with half of their abilities if or something. Figure it out per character what abilities they'll have and what abilities they won't. Some
A
weapon.
random agent, dude.
Yeah.
Random agents.
Well, okay, that'd be pretty crazy actually. I didn't even think about that, but that'd be pretty fun too. And
Yeah,
then you
that'd
just
be
like
cool.
retake a site, like 30-second rounds. I'm talking, like maybe minute rounds because bomb. But like pretty much that. Like I think that'd be really cool. I really miss
That'd
that.
be so cool. Dude, retakes? Like, I mean, when it comes to
Surf
CS,
maps?
like specifically.
No, that's a bit far.
Yo, like exclamation point skins, gotta
Prison
do all that stuff.
server.
Yo,
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
when it comes to like all that stuff, like the retake stuff, like the CS community has totally perfected retakes, and then Valve made it like an actual thing.
Yeah,
pretty
that's-
cool
yeah,
to
that's a
see.
thing.
Yeah, that is cool.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be a thing in Valorant, seeing as we can't have our own homebrew servers. The
Mhm.
best we can do is run it through Riot servers,
Yeah.
unfortunately, which makes Valorant a little more of a, I don't know, a sterile game almost. Like
Riot's
Riot
more
kinda
uptight
controls
about
the
their IPs.
experience,
Yeah.
They kind
Yeah.
of control the experience to a certain extent. Whereas Valve is like, here's a huge sandbox, make a castle, and we will take part of that castle that we like and put it into our own game.
As
Mhm.
far as I
pretty
know,
cool to
that's
see.
like Riot's MO though, right? Like they do that with the League too, and they'll do that with like Valorant esports when it gets a bit like more stable, I guess. Like they'll control
yeah.
everything. It'll all be franchised. They'll control.
That's kind of unfortunate because I think like, especially when it comes to the longevity of games, having like community run servers and a huge community that is super passionate about the game in that sense is great for it. Like
Community made
People still-
skins, maps.
I mean, people still play 1.6.
That's
I
true.
mean, people still play Source. People play, I don't know, a lot of older games that just have a huge community behind them. I mean, a lot of this is like Valve stuff because they're kind of slinging with that custom
Mhm.
servers thing.
that's something crazy actually to consider. I hadn't really thought about this. I mean, I've thought about part of it, but not the whole like big scale thing. In CS, there is so much content, and yet you do not need any of it to make the game fresher, and the game will still get bigger and thrive and do great. Meanwhile, in Valorant, there is very little content being generated because there's no community like content input, and yet you still need more agents being added and more tweaks being made, more maps being added. I feel like for the game to feel fresh necessarily, because I think that's just a different
Yeah.
approach. I think long term that might end up being a problem that we see with Valorant, where it might go the way of League, would then have like 140 agents, which I think would be absurd in an FPS game.
Imagine that, dude.
Dude, that'd be so absurd in an FPS game. Like, how do you
As
play
long
that?
as Skye.
I don't get how
as
people
long
play
as-
League.
That's very interesting. because I know nothing about League.
Yeah,
Give me
me
the
neither.
Smash Bros of FPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait
Guys,
to play the Wii
Minecraft
Fit
is in
Trainer
Valorant.
equivalent.
Yeah.
No way, Steve is in
Steve
Valorant.
is in Valorant.
Steve is in Valorant. You get the lava
I mean, he's
bucket.
clearly an insta pick. Like he's
Dude,
necessary.
Steve is S tier. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
That's great.
Also, speaking of agents, rumored agent number 14, Shatter. I don't know if any of you have heard about this.
I know nothing about
rumored
it, to be
agent.
honest. I've heard
I'll
of it,
give
but I know
the
nothing.
rundown.
Please do.
So, this is what Riot said in one of their updates called State of the Agents. They sneaked this at the very end. That said, we wanted to sneak some insight into the future here. This year, we'll tear open with a duelist for all you lurkers out there who will keep you on your toes around which angles are truly safe. And if this agent gets added, that means we have 5 duelists in the game, which means my 5 duelist setup is perfectly now viable.
Yeah, that's
Anyways,
what that
this-
means. That tracks. Yeah.
that's exactly what it
Viable.
means.
That's the word I'd use. yeah.
Viable. But hey, you have a dedicated lurk now. It's rumored to be called Shatter, and they're rumored to be a duelist, and they're supposed to have some sort of flash ability, and they're also able to mask their footsteps. And the ultimate is rumored to be a cloning ability of some sort. This is like a Phoenix with extra steps so far, which is very interesting. I wonder how many of these rumors are going to pan out to be true and what Riot is actually going to do with this agent. And maybe it's going to change how some people play the game. I don't know if it's going to be good enough. Like a dedicated lurk. Well, I don't know about dedicated, but maybe a better use of a lurk. I mean, when I think lurk, I think Omen almost automatically.
Yeah.
Simply because of the teleports and the blinds. Like that's what I use for lurk. I don't know about Shatter. Is it going to be as good of a lurking agent? And is it going to be as versatile?
I know
don't know.
nothing about it, but be cool to see. Do we know when that's dropping?
I don't know, but I'm gonna be optimistic, and I'm gonna say like Q1 next year, like episode 2. That's gonna be the agent. We
Yeah.
don't know too much about it, but there have been some leaks about it.
Well, when you think about an additional agent, the question that comes up in my head is like, when is the pick and ban system coming out? Because we
It's
already
gotta
have
happen.
clear counters. Like Cypher is countered by Jet and Raze, and when you pick Cypher on like Split, you're automatically going to lose B site because they'll just dash through, blast back through. So like, it's only the next logical step for a pick and ban.
I agree.
Imagine,
Like Siege
imagine we
style.
get, yeah, that might actually become a thing. Like once we get like 20 agents and like, there's just so much variety that there's gonna be some definite like hard counters. We're gonna have to implement that somehow.
Guys, why do you need designers for Valorant? Literally just have a generator that just takes all the info from like Siege, Counter-Strike, Overwatch, and just like randomly picks abilities and mix and matches them and just sends out like with a name. It's just like person, Agent 64. That's new person. Yeah, I don't know.
Just
I mean,
yeah.
jumble of characters.
they do have a lot of
Soldier
inspiration.
67.
yeah. Soldier 67. Yeah, guys.
We
That's
have
the one.
so many duelists now, like 4 duelists. Like
Yeah.
adding a 5th one. I mean, Riot does say they're gonna add some love to the other ones as well, like more controllers, more initiators, and
I really
Sentinels.
wanted another controller. Like
Yeah.
right now,
Oof.
the only smoker that's actually viable in my opinion is just Omen. No one
Brim is
plays
sus.
anymore.
I like Brim on one map, Bind.
I do
But
like Brim on
and
Bind,
Omen
that's
on
true.
that because the extra smoke potential. And
off
honestly,
the A
that's
site.
all. That's all I like with Brim. I don't know. I think in other cases, Omen is just a little more versatile. And losing one smoke, like I mean, Omen has 2 smokes and Brim has 3, but Omen smokes regenerate over time.
Yeah.
So unless you need to like dump 3 smokes on something like immediately, I don't know. Trading
If
like
they give him regen ability on his smoke, maybe then
yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, dude, what's really
Oh,
cool?
yo.
Stem
Look at-
beacon, insta lock, dude. The stem beacon.
Stim beacon.
Stim Beacon is so
Stim-
useless, dude.
It's awful. It's the worst ability.
It's
Stem
terrible.
beacon it just takes like 10.5 years to pull out. I mean, I'll use it if I have to. If we're on site, I'll throw it down just so I can get the 15% higher fire rate and pretend I'm Reyna. But
You know what'd be
If
interesting?
they,
I don't know.
What if you could
Does
use
it
the
stack
stim
with
beacon?
Reyna's ult?
Well, that's insane. But what if you could use the stim beacon to debuff the enemies? Like it increases your fire rate, and if they walk into it, it lowers their fire rate. Now double the length of the stim beacon,
Yo.
and he could just like throw it onto sites, and then you run into it. And if they're
Stim
there, then they
beacon
just
out.
can't shoot.
That would be
That'd
so
be interesting.
hilarious.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, then Brim just becomes a must pick and we break the entire game. So
It's that makes him even more of a threat on post plant on any
So we give him
site.
a launcher for his stim beacons, right? So now there's stim like lineups.
Stim launch.
Yeah.
Dude, the stim lineups debuff the enemy. Oh,
That's so toxic.
that's hilarious. I don't know. I like Brim. I actually play Brim if I'm not playing the other Sentinels. But I don't know about his viability in actual like CSL matches. Save for binds, which I think he's pretty strong in.
Yeah.
Just because he has, he adds to the smokes that Omen has, and he has a molly which is decent, and he has a great ult, relatively great ult that I somehow manage to miss every time I use it. So yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I agree.
But like, what agent is like your least picked? Like what agent do you just never want to see on your team? Like, I don't know if there's such a thing, honestly.
Viper.
Viper.
I love
dang.
Viper. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
with the
I
right
don't
setup,
know.
you can play anything.
I feel
Mhm.
like almost all of them are viable in some way, depending on your team comp.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Like-
agree. I also feel like if you have people fragging out, like it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a problem. I don't like that mentality in the game, but it is kind of true.
Agent-based shooters, Gabe. Everybody needs to do their part, apparently.
Yeah.
So hard to see, huh?
Raised it.
Unfortunate. Raze.
Raze being different.
Yeah, Raze is
You
a
guys
team
wanna
player,
t-
guys. I
You
swear.
guys want to talk about CSL a little bit?
Yeah, we can touch on that before we sort of wrap up.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we've gotten. I think that's a good place to sort of pitch like our last sort of topic before we head off for the night. We've played quite a few matches between the two teams in CSL. That's the league that we both play in for collegiate esports, and we've been on a bit of a player break, so to speak, for now. Over the winter, we haven't played in what, like 4 weeks now, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, almost a
Yeah.
month, I think.
Yeah. So, and we'll be coming back in just over a week, I think. I think January 9th is our first match back. What are we expecting going back in? Are we confident? I know A Team has a very tough matchup that we're a little scared. The Scarlet Knights, they're a little
I heard
sus.
they are quite the team. They're Rutgers, right?
I think so. As far as I know, they're Immortal 2 and up. They have multiple like Radiants,
Oh,
which is worrying. But
yeah,
like we'll
that is
figure it
quite
out.
the matchup.
They haven't
Like,
lost
where-
anything like ever.
Yikes.
Are they
Have they
undefeated?
given up a map?
Yeah,
Have they given
they
up
have
a
given
map?
up, not in this season of CSL. I watched other leagues that they compete in, because that's true too. They compete in like a ton of leagues. I could only ever find a record of them dropping 2 maps, and they still went on to win the league. So it's a little sus. It's a little sus, to say the least. Anyway,
Yikes. You guys have a tough matchup there. How do you think about, I mean, is that your main threat? Do you think of any other teams?
Everything's
as
a threat.
in your division?
Everything's a
a
threat.
the world is a threat. But like, yeah, that's the main threat. We're still decently positioned to make playoffs if we lose to them, depending on how the rest of the trades
Yeah.
work out between teams. But
Can you
it's
remind
close.
the audience how that works? Like, how do we get into playoffs and how does the
So
season work?
basically, the way the CSL is set up is that you have conferences, right? So I believe we have maybe 12, 13 conferences or something, 14. And basically, conferences are regional. So in the Northeast, for Boston, for example, we have Northeast 1, 2, and 3. I think we're in the Northeast third conference, I think. I don't recall. But each conference has maybe 9, 10 teams in it. So if there's like 14 conferences, we're talking about around 140 teams in the league all in all. And the way that they used to do it is that the top 16 out of those 140 teams made playoffs. This season, they have changed that. And I say used to. There hasn't been a previous Valorant season, but that's what their rules were before, I think, November. And then they changed it like November 23rd or so. The way that it works now is that there are, I think, 48 teams that make playoffs or something like that. And it's the top 3 teams from each conference based on win-loss. So we just have to be top 3. I believe right now we're placed 3rd in our conference of like the 11 teams or whatever. So there's a chance. There's also a chance that we won't, but we'll see. It's all about how it all shapes up. So moving into this next game, I don't know. I think we just can't overthink it too much. Let's just play, just have some fun. It's a new league. Everybody's figuring their stuff out. Like nobody has managed to even take a map off of like, I think the most like rounds that they've dropped in this league so far is 9 Scarlet Knights, that is. So it's like whatever happens. It'll be whatever.
I do have some stuff going on in the chat. Somebody asks, will the highlights be on YouTube? yes, they will. And I believe Gabe will send out a message on the BU Gaming Discord when that happens.
Yep.
Did I hope? And it's also going to be on Spotify, which is in the announcements channel on the BU Gaming Discord. So if you check in
That's
those two
true.
places, the VODs are going to be up there. And somebody asked, how did you guys get into Val?
Ooh. Get into Val?
Get into
I mean,
Val.
I played Counter-Strike, and then Valorant was Counter-Strike too.
Yeah,
so.
did everybody come from Counter-Strike? Because that seems to be a trend. I watched
Pretty
one
much.
War Owl video, and it's like, ooh, Valorant, look at this shooter that's cool and punishes you for being out of position by aim tagging you to basically a crawl. And I'm like, this is nice. So I got into the beta. I played it. I probably picked up Brim as my first agent because I didn't know what I was doing. But then I just settled on Sage. Played that throughout the summer, got really into it, and like went up to like plat 2 or 3. And then I just got washed after that point, after I joined the BU Gaming Club and they had the B team after tryouts, right? So when were tryouts? Like near the beginning of the semester.
It was
when
like September, August, I don't know.
September, I'd say.
Yeah, like there must have been early September, October. Like late
Yeah,
September, early October, yeah.
So I know that myself, Gabe, and Brian, we got in through that first initial tryouts during September, but we were and then you two were assigned captain for the A team. I was assigned captain for the B team. And then Dariy's path is a little different because he was put on because we had a second round of tryouts to get more roster depth. And Dariy was a must pick for the B team. And I'll butter you up right now, dude. Because
I tried to steal him, but it didn't work.
yeah. So like full disclosure, I think Gabe wanted you and BFK.
Yeah.
Like would have liked, like actually I think he wanted BFK specifically because he played Sova.
Yeah, we had a Sova lack on our team. But...
Yeah, and who came on because of the second tryouts? I believe it was DNL.
Well, DNL was a must pick for
DNL was
He was a must pick.
Yeah.
And then the other person that was insane was Optimum. So we wanted Optimum in.
So instead of going for BFK or Dart, you guys went with those two, and I was left with the scraps. No,
you want to scrim? You want to scrim A team versus B team? It went super well last time.
Yeah, it did. We won.
Oh yeah, totally.
No. I mean, we obviously won. You can look at it. It says 13-0 right there.
Yeah.
Just don't look at the names.
That's true.
13-0.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it's something that Gabe and I both observed was Dariy was really good with positioning and just playing Omen overall.
Yes.
Like his kills were from being able to use Omen effectively and being able to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's so hard to like. I feel like we're so early days in Valorant. The game changes so fast. It's hard to figure out what you're looking for in a player. At the end of the day, like, I don't know, DNL would have had to be very toxic for him to not get picked up. Like with like the kills that he was dropping, like it was unreasonable.
He was insane.
Yeah, we had to rebalance the teams like 3 times or something. So
he might be the best player that I've ever played with, I think.
It's pretty interesting, yeah. What are we talking about again? CSL?
I don't know. Yeah, well, we kind of covered CSL, I think, like moving forward,
I mean,
what we're expecting.
Hey, nobody cares about the B team, apparently. You know,
no, we care about... Okay, so you guys are in a bit of a different league situation, though.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the open league, which is basically like, I don't know, like T-ball, if the star division was like D1 and stuff. So, I mean, our league is a little more chill. The ranks are a little lower, and the stakes aren't as high. And I'm pretty sure our prize for winning is having to clean up the arena after the Star League is done with their stuff. And we get Arby's after. I don't know.
We might give you an autograph if you get lucky.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, in terms of actual threats in our division, we're in the North, or the conference. We're in Northeast 2. The only team that has given us, like, I think, very significant like pushback is Bingham University Open 1. So
we beat their A team, I think.
If their B team is this good, yeah. I don't know. Oh, wait.
They just had some
I think
crazy
we beat
rotates
their
on us.
They had some good rotates. Honestly, perhaps they're counterable. That's when we went in with like a pretty like revamped roster, honestly. Like I subbed in Dariy and BFK immediately because they're doing really well in tryouts and they were highly ranked. So I'm like, I think I'll try them in this game because Binghamton is looking to be a very tough opponent, but we lost. I mean, it wasn't like complete blowout 13-0s, but I think it was by a relatively significant margin.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
I mean, I think they're beatable, but we just have to make sure our B game is on.
It's going to be the playoffs rematch for sure.
It's going to be amazing.
Are you guys ranked in your conference?
I think we're second.
Yeah.
Because, the only team to have beaten us is Binghamton, and Binghamton is undefeated.
Dang, okay. Yeah.
So
they're the Scarlet Knights of your conference.
They pretty much are,
Essentially.
though I don't think they're as like pushing the
Yeah.
boundaries as Scarlet Knights is with 5 Radiants on the team.
Dude, I sometimes go into like the CSL Discord into like the looking for scrims thing, and even over like winter break, like it was like the day before
Oh
Christmas. Or
yeah,
something,
people
and they were just
requesting
like,
Immortal 3
Yeah,
plus only scrims. Yeah.
sorry guys, I don't care about
Yeah.
Valorant that much. Gotta be honest. Like,
That's pretty insane, yeah. I think like the skill gap, but like Immortal 3 to Radiant, I think it's more of like a dedication thing. It feels
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I mean, it's. I honestly feel like from like Diamond
Diamond
2,
onwards
maybe,
is just like
yeah. It's just
time.
playing.
play.
You just keep
Yeah.
playing, and eventually you'll get there.
Mhm.
I don't know. I haven't really played like normal comp in a while. I don't really think the ranks matter that much once you're past a certain
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I've taken a very long hiatus from Valo, just full disclosure. Like I haven't played like significantly in a long while, like a week or two, 2 weeks at least. Like I played some unranked and that was it. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of out of the game, just taking a break, but I'm definitely gonna hop back into it because we're gonna need to get some
We
work
got matches
done
coming up.
Oh, we got matches, and we've got matches, baby.
Dude, I'm worried. DNL keeps like in game like World of Warcraft. I'm like, or is it World of Warcraft that he keeps playing? I don't know. I keep seeing him play, and I'm like, dude, that's not Valorant. That's not Valorant. That's not Valorant.
not
We have a
Valo.
game in 9
That's
days, and
not
that's not
Valo.
Valorant. We have a problem. We have a problem. He's not playing
We have
Valorant.
somebody saying, "Oh, B Team take my energy." Lots of things in the chat. This is Gabe. This is exactly why we need the chat during the stream to show up because the
I
chat
agree.
is booming right now.
I wish I could see it. I
We're
don't have it
saying
up right
B
now.
Team
But
forever. B Team take my energy. Thank you so much. Should do a rematch with NEU.
ooh.
So this is the hilarious thing about NEU actually. NEU supposedly had a B team that we were supposed to face, and I thought they were going to blow us out of the water. Turns out that team disbanded.
Oh, wow.
That team just doesn't exist anymore. But they do have a C team.
Yeah, they have a C team that plays in a different league somehow.
Wait, they play in no,
do they
we're
play
going up
in-
against them. We're going
Oh,
they're our
okay.
last match, January 23rd. So I mean we're playing against their C team. I don't know how good they are, but I know the A team I think they beat you guys. I don't know by how much of a margin. I don't know if they were good
know.
or if you just had a terrible day that
I
time.
think it was
Northeastern?
a BO3. It was a close game. It was
Is
like
this
the third
Northeastern that we're
match.
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you guys won.
we got
didn't you?
sweeped. We got
We got
sweeped.
sweep.
You got
We
swept?
got sweep.
We got
There's a
swept.
there.
0-2.
Okay, listen, it was totally worth it though. We got a clip of a Falsia ace that I use in everything now. That is my go-to clip for everything. It's perfect.
That's so amazing. Wow, we have 15 viewers now, Gabe, and you're just gonna end the live stream. You really think you're just gonna do that easily?
I
Now we
am
have
though. We've been
people
streaming
on?
for like an hour and 17. I will say though, so you guys all typing like the take my energy in the chat. Love it. Show up for the actual streams and then type that, and that will actually help the team. Like we love to hear that stuff. Like between matches, I mean, like go and check it out and see what people are saying. Like we need your energy, so be there to give it to us.
Absolutely. And our matches are going to be coming up. Let's see if I can get them right. So B Team has a match January 9th at 3. It's like every Saturday at 3, basically. From starting from January 9th until the 23rd. And I believe A Team has a same situation.
Yeah,
right?
give or take.
So, I might reschedule some of our matches just so we can get them streamed because I mean A Team takes priority when it comes to streaming. And I know you guys want to watch B Team wreck some face.
For sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I think we have been streaming for quite a while now. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We went all the way back. We talked about the 1.11 patch notes that have sort of defined this era of Valorant since. We've talked about 1.14 patch notes. We talked about Skye. We talked about Breach. We talked about Icebox.
Poggers!
No, I wouldn't use that word with Icebox.
Icepug.
Icepug, yeah. I think at this point, the only thing that we can talk about left, we've talked about CSL and where we're going from there. What do we, let's finish it off with this question. I think this is good. What do we want to see from the game moving forward? We've talked about like some leaked footage or like leaked ideas of what they might be adding to the game. So right now, quickly, so that we can sort of start wrapping up, let's go each person at a time. What do we think, like what is our ideal thing to be added to the game? It could be a change to a map. It could be a new map of a certain type. You can use a reference. It could be a new agent. It could be removing an agent. What change would you like to see made?
Ooh,
We'll start
I
with
guess I'll
Phillip
go
first and go down the
I'll
line.
first.
Yeah.
All right. Viper buff. Let's make Viper. I just want to see more Vipers being played in CSL, even though it would be a huge pain for me. I just want to see more people using Viper because Viper is such an interesting and underutilized agent, and I think just giving her a little more oomph is gonna allow people to, pick her, and also fixing that weird thing with the not being able to pick up the smokes or whatever, so people can actually practice Viper a little more easily.
I think for mine, it's gonna have to be just reading through chat right now. We got Erico requesting the double raise nade back, and I think I have to agree with that. I think that's the fix. I think it'll solve the game.
Yeah.
We need the 2 raise nades. We need to be able to throw them down mid on bind every single round. Perma stop the push.
What we really need is Sage to become a must pick again. Please. Please. I loved playing Sage when Sage was the most viable character of characters.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I just want to see more agents. I just really want to see a pick and ban system in the game right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right now, we're
Same.
lacking a lot of agents. Like for controllers, at least. Like Viper is not a viable controller, like standalone controller. Brim is not as picked as often, like in programs. And then like Omen is 100% pick rate.
Yeah.
And,
Omen is the most viable controller out of those.
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Easily.
That's all we have. So I love to see a bit more of those, and then see some bans.
I agree. I agree with everything that's been said. I guess to add some diversity and try not to restate the same things, I want more maps. I want more maps. I want like a 7-map system like there is in CS. I want there to be
And you want a
proper
pick and ban
VODs.
system with
Yeah,
them, too.
I want ban, pick, ban, and then one left over. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want like a proper pick ban veto system. Yeah, that's what I would like to see. I think the game's gonna get there. I think we've, within the scale of what an esport is, it's incredible that Valorant has become this big to where we can even have a podcast about it within like not very long of it being out.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a shout out to a tiny little game called Due Process that's out on Steam now. I've been following it for like many, many months. It's somewhere between like Counter-Strike and Siege, closer to Siege. Very small indie game, has like 100 players at a time. Valorant is like the polar opposite of that. Came out of nowhere, huge publication, like, and has just hit the ground running. This is not normal. So we say all these things, we talk about the problems with the games, but take it with a grain of salt. Like, this is not the scale in which esports operates. It needs time. It will grow and evolve and listen to the community, I hope. Please, Riot.
Yeah,
don't pull a
please.
Valve.
Please, I don't want this game to die because I really do enjoy it. As much as I get frustrated over every single time I solo queue and my team is trash and I can't get anything done because I'm a Sentinel and that's not how I play. I love the game. I love the game.
Game's pretty cool. And so I think with that, we're pretty much ready to wrap up. Do you guys have any closing thoughts, comments? Do we want to give any shout outs while you guys are here?
Well, I will start really quickly just so that I don't forget. If you need any updates from the B Gaming Discord, check the link in the chat by Giorno. That's where most of the stuff is going to come from. If you check the hashtag announcements channel, everything's going to be there. This VOD is going to be up on YouTube shortly, as well as on Spotify if you prefer to listen to it via audio. And of course, we're going to be streaming this bi-weekly every Wednesday, 5 p.m. And we'll always have an announcement out if you join I believe it's the Valorant tag. If you add that to your name in Discord, we'll let you know when the stream's up.
Yeah, and the next stream will then be January 13th.
Yes.
Wednesday.
Ooh, Dariy jersey merch. Dude, jerseys are going to happen, and I will make sure they happen. This is something I've been asking for since I joined the team. I'll do anything for a t-shirt, please.
On the behalf of the e-board, we are trying. That's all I can say.
Try harder, okay? That's all I can say.
We're trying. It's in the works, all right? That's all I can say. It's in the works.
I'd buy a Dariy jersey, and I'm not even Dariy.
Dude, I'd buy a Dariy jersey.
Dariy.
God, you got me to say it. No. Even I said Dariy. No.
Dariy. No. Cow.
All right. So I think with that, we'll wrap up then. Thank you guys all for joining. Thank you, guests, for being here today. Phillip, my trusty co-host. This has been the BU Gaming's Collegiate Valorant podcast, Showstopper. You guys have a good night.
Now we're down to just 2 players with a bomb down.
Falsia finding 3, 4. Will we see the ace from Falsia this round?